Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, there's a little pumpkin spice in all of us. Bourbon Barrel-Aged Imperial Pumpkin Chai is a 9.5% pumpkin beer from Saugatuck Brewing Company in Saugatuck, Michigan. I know pumpkin beers are something that a lot of craft beer fans out there are divided on. They seem to be one of those binary things like Michigan versus Michigan State or PUBG versus Fortnite. But to me, if they're done right, pumpkin beers can be pretty okay. Now, don't get me wrong. There are, of course, a lot of pretty horrible pumpkin beers out there, but I'm always willing to give any beer a fair shot. Now, this is the first Saugatuck beer I've had on the channel, and while I've bought a lot that I've intended to review here, it seems like something else always comes up, it gets in the way. I don't know, I don't get a chance to post about it, and I don't like to hold on to these videos for too long because they feel like they stop kind of being topical after a while. Imperial Pumpkin Chai is one of Saugatuck's Bourbon Barrel-Aged series of releases, which have included Neapolitan Milk Stout, Beam Me Up Stouty, and Draminatrix, to name just a few. While I think a couple of those, I might have a couple of them cellaring, this will, again, be the first one that I've reviewed on the channel. So let's take a look at the label, first of all, and then I'll get this in a glass, and I'll get the party started. Just, straight off the bat, I got this. I picked it up, a single of it for $4.89, so if you see it on shelves, usually it's in a 4-pack, but you should kind of expect to pay that much for a single. So right here on the front, it says packaged on 8/24/18. It has Saugatuck Brewing on the front and their logo, made in Michigan, sbbrewing.com, 2018 Bourbon Barrel-Aged Imperial Pumpkin Chai. And then really minimal, Saugatuck has these really minimal they don't really have much else besides the name of the beer and the package and the ABV. Even the ABV is a little bit hidden on here. It's on the side. It says, ale brewed with herbal chai tea and pumpkin. As always, we guarantee our beers for 6 months from package date. Cellar at your own risk. Alcohol, 9.5% by volume. 36 IBUs, 12 fluid ounces, which is 355 milliliters, if you ever cared about that. And brewed and bottled in Saugatuck Brewing Company and on Blue Star Highway in Douglas, Michigan. I didn't know that. I thought it was in Saugatuck. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my tulip glass here and my handy dandy bottle opener. And a fun fact, it is illegal to hunt unicorns in Michigan. That's the truth. So it has a Saugatuck blue and white with orange on the bottle cap. I've seen a couple different caps, and it says, here's to happy on the inside here. Yeah, I've seen a couple different, it's always orange, white, and blue. Let me smell it out of the bottle before I jump the gun here. Ooh, it smells very pumpkin-y, very chai. If you've ever had chai tea, it's got like kind of a clovey scent to it. I smell a tiny bit of the bourbon barrel. I smell a lot of pumpkin. I smell kind of that cinnamon, spicy chai kind of smell to it. I'm also getting a slight, maybe like an allspice kind of scent as well. A lot of pumpkin beers have allspice tastes or characteristics. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. It's coming very kind of brownish orange out of the bottle here. And it's collecting kind of that same color in the glass. I'm going to just pour the whole thing in there. Set it on that side. And holding it up to the light, very small amount of head. It's got a nice kind of purplish hue to it through the light. Not seeing through it, but not necessarily being in the light. It has kind of a brown, amber kind of color to it. It's got a really nice coloration. I'm actually kind of really excited smelling this out of the bottle. It kind of reinvigorated, like, oh, this smells really good. So yeah, up just out of the glass. Getting a little bit more of the barrel, the bourbon barrel. Losing a little bit, getting a lot of pumpkin, a lot of bourbon barrel, but kind of losing a bit of that chai, that cinnamon, and that allspice kind of scent. It's still there, but I'm getting a lot more of the bourbon barrel, so I am ready to jump into this. So cheers, everybody. Again, 9.5%. It does have a bit of a heavy, kind of thick mouthfeel. I've had this out of the fridge for maybe 15 minutes or so to kind of let it get a little bit warm up a little bit. Medium to thick mouthfeel. Not sticky, not super heavy, not like coating my tongue in this kind of syrup, not syrupy at all. So whereas out of the bottle I smelled not so much bourbon, and then in the glass I smelled a little bit more, the taste is a lot of bourbon. It's a very strong bourbon taste. It's kind of overpowering almost everything else that I'm smelling, or I'm sorry, that I'm tasting. So up front is a lot of bourbon. And then your tongue kind of has to work for it a little bit, right? So your mouth has to kind of work for it. As I swallow it on my tongue, once that bourbon, in the midst of that bourbon, so like let's say the outside of my tongue is, and the front is really picking up on that bourbon taste, then that kind of really slight pumpkin, a really slight pumpkin flavor comes through that bourbon on the kind of like the center of my tongue, and then as I swallow it, it's very kind of like got a really boozy bite to it, a lot of bourbony taste to it. It doesn't necessarily burn my chest or down the front of my throat or anything, but then as I as I take that drink and I swallow it, that's when I'm kind of getting that cinnamon and that chai kind of allspice, all those kind of different herbal spices. That's when I start to pick those up on the outside of my tongue again. It's really kind of odd. But again, I'm getting a lot of that bourbon taste up front. I've really got, like I said, your tongue and your mouth really has to work to get anything but the bourbon out of it. You have to really kind of sit with it, sip it, let it kind of linger in your mouth a tiny bit. I don't ever drink bourbon on its own, so really the only exposure I've had to bourbon is through, maybe like a barbecue sauce or something, but a lot of these bourbon barrel-aged beers, I get that. And I would really like to see them, maybe if they could do it, scale back on the bourbon. The bourbon is just so overpowering. I know that there's a really good beer in there. It's living in there somewhere. A really nice pumpkin beer living inside of this bottle somewhere, but because that bourbon is so overpowering and you really have to work to get any of that pumpkin kind of taste out of it, to get that chai tea kind of taste, that cinnamon, that allspice taste that you expect from a pumpkin beer, I wish it was a little bit more of the forefront, that the bourbon was a little bit more subdued. I guess as I drink a little bit more with that bourbon, those initial tastes, I do get a bit of that allspice, cinnamon kind of taste at the beginning, but I don't really pick it up until the end. You know what I mean? Like if I were to just drink it, I wouldn't pick up on it unless I'm really thinking about, okay, where's the cinnamon? Where's the allspice? Where's the chai? Where's the pumpkin? Where's the bourbon? Okay, I know where the bourbon is. Okay, so I'm running through in my mind, now that I know where the bourbon is, where's the rest? And I just have to work too hard for it. So while I think that there's a really good beer living inside of this bottle somewhere, it makes me wonder if I should be aging this. I do have one other bottle, but I was going to use it for something else. Man, I would like to age it and see how it if that bourbon kind of dies down a little bit, and if I could pick up more of the other flavors. I also kind of wonder if I were to just drink it straight up cold, like straight out of the refrigerator at, 45 degrees or whatever. This is probably about 50 degrees, 50 to 55 degrees. If at like 45 degrees, 40 degrees, if I would just not get what I would get, you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to let this warm up so I could get a little bit more of the flavor out of it. But yeah, at this juncture, I think I would want to let it age a little bit so the bourbon possibly subsides a little bit and I could get a little bit more of that pumpkin, a little bit more of that allspice, a little bit more of that chai kind of taste out of it. I think maybe more as I sit with it, as it maybe warms up a little bit more. In my mind, I'm thinking, again, I'm running down that checklist, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, bourbon's there. But now that I'm drinking it more, you know, it's warming up a little bit. I don't know if it's the warmth of it or me actually thinking about it. I am picking up on the pumpkin a little bit more. A little less than that bourbon barrel. If anybody's still watching this at this point, because I usually don't let it sit this long, I'm going to give you the recommendation that you should let this be just maybe slightly above room temperature. I'm saying like room temperature is going to be pretty, it's going to be like, I don't know, depends on you, but I would say maybe do like 55 to 60 degrees that you drink this, because the more I'm letting it kind of warm up, the more I'm able to pick out those flavors right away rather than just the bourbon straight up. So I'm going to put a caveat over this whole review and say, if you drink this and you want to get all the flavors out of it, let it get pretty warm. Maybe a little bit warmer than you normally would. Because as I drink it, as it gets warmer, I am picking up on more of the flavors. But initially at the colder, I'm saying like 55 degrees, I was just picking up straight up bourbon. So take that for what you will. I would recommend drinking this as close to room temperature, maybe, 10 degrees below room temperature, just so you're not drinking warm beer. But yeah, again, Saugatuck, if you could do something to make it, you could get those flavors out of it a little bit cooler. Okay, maybe that's out of the realm of possibility. But for me, for my tastes, I would say to let this warm up as much as possible to be able to drink it. But at first impression, at a colder temperature, this was not meeting any of my expectations, especially considering how delicious this smelled right out of the bottle. So again, Saugatuck, if you're watching, and anybody else that wants to pick this up, I would say drink it as close to room temperature, maybe 10 degrees, 10 degrees cooler than room temperature. If you drink it too cold, you're not going to pick up on any of the subtle flavor in here. Again, there's a really great beer living inside of this bottle, but you might have to work a little bit to get to it. All right, friends, that has been Imperial Pumpkin Chai, part of Saugatuck's Bourbon Barrel Age series. Have you had this beer yet, or any of the other Bourbon Barrel Aged beers? Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And if you're heading into the Saugatuck tap room, make sure you let them know that you saw their beer here on this channel. I put a vlog out recently on Jolly Pumpkin's Wanza Day. And if you want to see more festival coverage or brewery coverage, let them know about it so I can get this channel in those tap rooms. While you're down there leaving a comment, why not like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? I'm here talking Michigan beer twice a week, rain or shine. And the best part about it is it's absolutely free to viewers just like you. You can also find links to my social media, some merch, a custom Tiku glass, links to all the gear, all the stuff, all the production that goes into these videos and a link to my blog at drafttherapy.com. If you follow any of those Amazon links, even if you don't buy the stuff I use, I get a small cut of anything you buy if you go through those links. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries, and don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching again. Cheers.